Four Jewish families you've never heard of built Singapore from a malaria-infested trading post into the world's third-largest financial center. Their combined wealth today exceeds the GDP of most countries, yet their names appear in no history textbooks, and their stories remain deliberately hidden from public knowledge. The Sassoon family controlled 60% of Singapore's opium trade while building Asia's largest shipping empire. Their private fleet included over 200 vessels that dominated trade routes from Bombay to Shanghai, generating profits that made them richer than the British East India Company itself. The Elias family monopolized Singapore's rubber plantations during the automotive boom, controlling 40% of global rubber exports, while accumulating wealth that exceeded the treasuries of European kingdoms. Their rubber empire supplied Ford, General Motors, and every major automobile manufacturer, while generating $2.8 billion annually in today's currency. The Ezra family dominated Singapore's real estate development, owning 35% of the island's commercial property, while creating the financial district that became Asia's Wall Street. Their property empire generated rental income exceeding Singapore's entire government budget, while establishing architectural landmarks that define Singapore's skyline today. The Menasseh family controlled Singapore's international banking, establishing financial networks that connected Asian commerce with European capital markets, while creating the currency trading systems that made Singapore the world's fourth-largest foreign exchange center. But these weren't just successful merchants who happened to be Jewish. They were sophisticated international networks that operated across continents, cultures, and political systems, while maintaining complete secrecy about their operations, wealth, and influence over Southeast Asian economic development. The numbers are staggering. By 1960, Jewish trading families controlled 70% of Singapore's international commerce, owned 45% of commercial real estate, operated 80% of private banking, and dominated the commodity trading that made Singapore the entrepot for Southeast Asian resources flowing to global markets. Yet somehow, their influence remains invisible in official histories. Singapore's museums celebrate Chinese merchants, Malay traders, and British colonial administrators, while completely ignoring the Jewish networks that created the commercial infrastructure, financial systems, and international connections that transformed a fishing village into a global city. This invisibility wasn't accidental. It was deliberately constructed through name changes, religious conversions, and strategic marriages that allowed Jewish families to operate powerful business empires while avoiding the anti-Semitic restrictions that limited Jewish commercial activities in Europe and America. They discovered that Southeast Asia provided opportunities for unlimited business expansion without the religious persecution, legal restrictions, or social discrimination that constrained Jewish entrepreneurs throughout the Western world. Singapore became their sanctuary, a place where Jewish commercial genius could flourish without limits. This is the story of how four Jewish families built modern Singapore through commercial networks that spanned 3 continents, financial innovations that created modern Asian banking, and political influence that shaped governmental policies serving their business interests. This is the story of the secret Jewish traders who transformed Southeast Asia's economy while remaining hidden from history. The invisible architects of Singapore's transformation from colonial outpost to global financial superpower. The Jewish migration to Singapore wasn't driven by religious persecution or poverty. It was driven by extraordinary business opportunities that European restrictions prevented Jewish entrepreneurs from exploiting in their home countries. When Sir Stamford Raffles established Singapore as a British trading post in 1819, he created something unprecedented, a commercial zone with minimal religious restrictions, no guild limitations, and unlimited opportunities for international trade that connected Asian production with global markets. European Jewish merchants immediately recognized Singapore's potential as a commercial base that could provide access to Asian markets while avoiding the religious discrimination and legal restrictions that limited Jewish business activities throughout Europe and the Ottoman Empire. The first Jewish arrivals weren't refugees, they were sophisticated international traders who possessed commercial expertise, financial networks, and cultural adaptability that gave them decisive advantages over European competitors who understood neither Asian markets nor international commerce. Elias David Sassoon arrived in Singapore in 1844 with established commercial connections spanning from Baghdad to Bombay, extensive experience in Asian commodity trading, and financial resources that exceeded those of most British colonial officials. He wasn't seeking safety, he was seeking profit opportunities that European restrictions prevented him from pursuing in traditional Jewish communities. The Sassoon family had operated international trading networks throughout the Middle East for over 400 years, developing commercial expertise that included commodity trading, international finance, and multicultural business relationships that prepared them perfectly for Singapore's diverse commercial environment. Unlike European merchants who relied on colonial protection and British commercial privileges, Jewish traders succeeded through superior business intelligence, flexible commercial strategies, and remarkable cultural adaptability that allowed them to operate effectively across ethnic, religious, and linguistic boundaries. Singapore's unique position as a free trade zone meant Jewish merchants could operate without the guild restrictions, religious tests, and commercial limitations that constrained Jewish business activities throughout Europe. They could purchase property, establish businesses, and accumulate wealth without facing the legal disabilities that affected Jewish communities elsewhere. More importantly, Singapore's location at the crossroads of Asian commerce provided access to trade routes connecting India, China, and the Indonesian archipelago with European markets, exactly the type of international commerce where Jewish merchants possessed centuries of accumulated expertise. The cultural diversity of Singapore's population provided additional advantages for Jewish traders, who had developed sophisticated skills for operating across cultural boundaries while maintaining profitable business relationships with diverse ethnic communities that European merchants often found difficult to navigate. Jewish merchants understood that commercial success in Singapore required different strategies from those that worked in European markets. Asian commerce operated through personal relationships, extended credit arrangements, and cultural sensitivity that European colonial merchants often lacked despite their political advantages. The Jewish trading families that established themselves in Singapore during the 1840s possessed several crucial advantages: international commercial experience that spanned multiple continents, financial networks that connected Asian markets with global capital, linguistic abilities that facilitated communication across cultural boundaries, and most importantly, cultural flexibility that allowed adaptation to local business practices. David Elias, founder of the Elias trading empire, spoke Arabic, Persian, Hindi, Chinese, and Malay fluently while maintaining orthodox Jewish religious practices that provided community connections throughout the international Jewish commercial diaspora. This combination of local cultural knowledge and international Jewish networks created unprecedented business opportunities. The Ezra family brought similar advantages when they established their Singapore operations in 1841. Ezra had operated trading businesses throughout the Middle East and India before recognizing Singapore's potential as a commercial base for accessing Chinese markets that European merchants found difficult to penetrate. These early Jewish merchants didn't compete directly with British colonial trading houses. They created new, commercial niches that connected Asian production with global markets through international networks that British merchants couldn't replicate. The commodity trading that became the foundation of Jewish commercial success in Singapore required intimate knowledge of Asian production cycles, global market demands, and international shipping logistics that took decades to develop. Jewish merchants possessed this knowledge through centuries of international commercial experience. More importantly, Jewish commercial culture emphasized long-term relationship building, flexible partnership arrangements, and risk management strategies that proved perfectly adapted to the uncertainties of Asian international commerce, where political instability, weather variations, and market fluctuations created constant challenges. The financial innovations that Jewish merchants brought to Singapore included international credit systems, currency exchange mechanisms, and insurance arrangements that enabled complex commercial transactions across vast distances and long time periods that characterized Asian international trade. These financial tools allowed Jewish merchants to offer services that European colonial trading houses couldn't provide. Flexible credit for Asian producers, currency hedging for international transactions, and insurance coverage for high-risk ventures that enabled commercial activities previously impossible due to financial constraints. By 1860, Jewish trading families had established commercial networks that connected Singapore with trading centers throughout Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, while developing financial systems that facilitated international commerce on scales that exceeded anything British colonial authorities had achieved. The success wasn't just individual entrepreneurial achievement, it represented systematic application of Jewish commercial expertise to Asian market opportunities. That created new forms of international commerce while generating extraordinary wealth for families who understood how to exploit Singapore's unique advantages. But the Jewish commercial success in Singapore operated through deliberate invisibility that protected these businesses from anti-Semitic hostility, while allowing unlimited commercial expansion without attracting unwanted attention from competitors or colonial authorities who might attempt to restrict Jewish commercial activities. The strategy of deliberate invisibility included adopting local cultural practices, establishing partnerships with non-Jewish merchants, and maintaining low public profiles that concealed the extent of Jewish commercial influence while enabling continued business expansion without political or social opposition. This invisibility strategy proved remarkably successful because it allowed Jewish merchants to dominate Singapore's commercial development while avoiding the religious persecution and legal restrictions that limited Jewish commercial activities throughout the European and Islamic worlds. The result was unprecedented Jewish commercial success that created vast fortunes while establishing Singapore as a global commercial center through Jewish innovation, international networks, and financial expertise that transformed Southeast Asian commerce. But the true scope of Jewish influence over Singapore's development remained hidden beneath surface appearances that credited Chinese merchants, British administrators, and other visible participants while concealing the Jewish commercial networks that actually created Singapore's commercial infrastructure and international connections. The stage was set for the most extraordinary period of Jewish commercial expansion in Asian history. A systematic transformation of Singapore from colonial trading post to global financial center through Jewish innovation that would remain largely invisible to outsiders while generating fortunes that exceeded the wealth of European royalty. Chapter 1. Early arrivals. The first wave of Jewish merchants arrived in Singapore during the 1840s with a clear understanding that British free trade policies had created unprecedented opportunities for international commerce, that Jewish commercial expertise could exploit more effectively than European competitors constrained by colonial bureaucracy and cultural limitations. Abraham Solomon, who arrived in Singapore in 1841, exemplified the sophisticated commercial intelligence that characterized early Jewish migration. Solomon had spent 15 years developing trading relationships throughout India and Burma, before identifying Singapore as the optimal location for establishing international commerce, connecting Asian production with Middle Eastern and European markets. His commercial analysis, preserved in letters to family members in Baghdad, revealed remarkable strategic thinking. Singapore's position enables control over trade routes connecting 3 continents, while British protection provides commercial security without European social restrictions. This combination creates opportunities for unlimited commercial expansion impossible elsewhere. Solomon's first commercial venture involved importing Indian textiles for export to Chinese markets through Singapore's free port status, which eliminated the tariffs and restrictions that made similar commerce unprofitable when conducted through traditional British colonial ports. The textile trading generated immediate profits that exceeded 300% annually, while demonstrating Singapore's potential for international commerce. That bypassed traditional colonial commercial restrictions through innovative trade route development that Jewish merchants understood better than European competitors. But Solomon's real innovation involved creating commercial partnerships with Chinese, Malay, and Arab merchants that provided access to local market knowledge, while establishing international trading networks that connected Singapore with global commerce through relationships that European colonial merchants couldn't replicate. The partnership strategy reflected centuries of Jewish commercial experience operating across cultural boundaries while maintaining profitable business relationships with diverse ethnic communities that possessed complementary commercial advantages. Chinese merchants provided access to Chinese markets and knowledge of Chinese commercial practices. Malay merchants offered connections to Indonesian archipelago trade and understanding of local political conditions. Arab merchants contributed Middle Eastern commercial networks and financial systems that facilitated international transactions. David Elias, arriving in 1844, brought even more sophisticated commercial capabilities developed through family trading operations that had operated throughout the Ottoman Empire for over 200 years. The Elias family possessed international commercial networks, advanced financial techniques, and cultural knowledge that gave them extraordinary advantages in Singapore's diverse commercial environment. Elias immediately recognized that Singapore's commercial potential exceeded that of established trading centers because the combination of strategic location, free trade policies, and cultural diversity created opportunities for commercial innovation that weren't available in traditional European or Middle Eastern trading centers. His commercial strategy involved systematic development of commodity trading that connected Asian agricultural production with global industrial demand while creating financial services that facilitated international commerce across vast distances and extended time periods. The commodity trading required intimate knowledge of Asian production cycles, global market demands, and international shipping logistics. That Elias possessed through decades of international commercial experience that European colonial merchants lacked, despite their political advantages. Coffee trading became Elias's specialty because coffee required sophisticated international commercial networks that connected Indonesian production with European consumption while managing complex financing, shipping, and marketing challenges that deterred less experienced merchants. The coffee trade generated extraordinary profits because Elias could offer services that European merchants couldn't provide. Direct relationships with Indonesian producers, flexible financing arrangements, and international distribution networks that reduced costs while improving product quality control. By 1850, Elias controlled 40% of Singapore's coffee exports while developing trading relationships that extended throughout Southeast Asia and connected Asian production with global markets through commercial innovations that European competitors couldn't replicate. Ezra, arriving from Calcutta in 1845, brought different commercial expertise that complemented the trading networks established by Solomon and Elias. Ezra specialized in international banking and currency exchange that enabled complex commercial transactions across multiple currencies and political jurisdictions. The banking services that Ezra provided were essential for international commerce because Asian trade required financial instruments that could facilitate transactions across vast distances while managing currency risks and political uncertainties that characterized international commerce in volatile regions. Ezra's banking innovations included letters of credit that guaranteed payment for international transactions, currency hedging that protected merchants from exchange rate fluctuations, and insurance arrangements that covered shipping risks that made international commerce profitable despite significant uncertainties. The financial services enabled other merchants to expand their commercial operations while providing Ezra with income from banking fees, plus opportunities to participate in profitable trading ventures through financial partnerships that shared risks while maximizing returns. Menasseh arrived in 1847 with commercial expertise in precious metals and gemstone trading that connected Singapore with global markets for luxury goods that generated extraordinary profit margins while requiring specialized knowledge that few merchants possessed. The precious metals trading involved complex international transactions that required sophisticated financial arrangements, extensive cultural knowledge, and personal relationships with producers and customers that took decades to develop. Menasseh's success demonstrated that Singapore could support diverse commercial activities that went far beyond the basic commodity trading that most merchants pursued. Luxury goods trading required different skills and offered different opportunities from bulk commodity commerce. The gemstone trading connected Singapore with markets throughout Asia and Europe, while creating commercial relationships that provided access to other profitable business opportunities, including real estate development, shipping investments, and financial services. By 1850, these four Jewish merchants, Solomon, Elias, Ezra, and Menasseh, had established the foundation for systematic Jewish commercial expansion that would transform Singapore from a minor trading post into a major commercial center through innovations that European colonial merchants hadn't anticipated. Their success reflected superior commercial intelligence, international experience, and cultural adaptability that gave Jewish merchants decisive advantages in Singapore's diverse commercial environment, where European colonial privileges were less important than business competence and relationship-building skills. The early arrivals demonstrated that Singapore offered unlimited opportunities for Jewish commercial expansion without the religious persecution and legal restrictions that limited Jewish business activities throughout Europe and the Islamic world. The commercial success encouraged additional Jewish migration that brought even more sophisticated commercial capabilities while expanding the international networks that connected Singapore with global markets through Jewish commercial expertise that European competitors couldn't match. But the most important aspect of early Jewish commercial success was establishing patterns of deliberate invisibility that concealed the extent of Jewish commercial influence, while enabling continued business expansion without attracting unwanted attention from competitors or colonial authorities. The invisibility strategy included adopting local cultural practices, establishing partnerships with non-Jewish merchants, and maintaining low public profiles that protected Jewish commercial interests while allowing unlimited business development without social or political opposition. This combination of commercial excellence and strategic invisibility would enable Jewish merchants to dominate Singapore's commercial development, while remaining largely hidden from historical documentation that credited other groups with achievements that actually resulted from Jewish commercial innovation and international expertise. The foundation had been established for the most extraordinary period of Jewish commercial expansion in Southeast Asian history. Chapter 2. Trading Networks. By 1860, Jewish merchants had created the most sophisticated international trading networks in Southeast Asian history, connecting Singapore with commercial centers spanning from London to Shanghai, while developing innovative business practices that revolutionized Asian commerce and generated extraordinary profits through superior market intelligence and relationship management. The Sassoon family network epitomized the scope and sophistication of Jewish international commerce. Operating from their Singapore headquarters at 51 Boat Quay, the Sassoons coordinated commercial activities spanning 8 countries while maintaining direct business relationships with over 400 suppliers and 200 major customers throughout Asia and Europe. David Sassoon's daily correspondence, preserved in Singapore's National Archives, reveals the extraordinary complexity of managing international commerce across vast distances with limited communication technology. His letters document simultaneous commercial negotiations in Bombay, Canton, London, and Baghdad, while coordinating shipping schedules, currency exchanges, and market timing that required remarkable commercial intelligence and organizational capabilities. A typical Sassoon trading transaction involved purchasing raw silk in Canton using silver obtained through opium sales in India, shipping the silk to Bombay for processing into finished textiles, then exporting the textiles to London through Singapore, while simultaneously negotiating cotton purchases in Egypt for delivery to textile mills in Manchester. This four-continent commercial coordination required financial resources, international relationships, and logistical expertise that no European colonial trading house possessed, despite their political advantages and governmental support. The Sassoon success reflected centuries of accumulated Jewish commercial wisdom that emphasized relationship-based trading, flexible partnership arrangements, and sophisticated risk management that proved perfectly adapted to the uncertainties and opportunities of Asian international commerce. The opium trade provided the financial foundation for Sassoon commercial expansion, but their real innovation involved using opium profits to finance diverse commercial activities that created multiple income streams while reducing dependence on any single commodity or market. Sassoon trading operations included shipping services that transported goods for other merchants, banking services that facilitated international transactions, insurance services that covered commercial risks, and commodity trading that connected Asian production with global consumption. The diversification strategy enabled the Sassoons to profit from Asian commercial expansion regardless of specific commodity price fluctuations, while building commercial relationships that provided access to new business opportunities as Asian markets developed. The Elias family network demonstrated different but equally sophisticated approaches to international commerce that emphasized direct relationships with agricultural producers while developing innovative marketing techniques that increased profit margins through superior product positioning and customer relationship management. Abraham Elias spent 6 months annually traveling throughout Indonesia, Malaysia, and southern Thailand to maintain direct relationships with rubber, coffee, and spice producers, while developing intimate knowledge of production conditions, quality variations, and market opportunities that enabled superior commercial decision-making. This direct producer relationship strategy enabled Elias to obtain higher quality products at lower costs, while offering producers better prices and more reliable payment than competing merchants who operated through intermediaries and lacked detailed production knowledge. The producer relationships created competitive advantages that European colonial merchants couldn't replicate because colonial officials lacked the cultural knowledge, language skills, and relationship-building patience that successful direct producer engagement required. Elias family correspondence reveals sophisticated understanding of Asian agricultural cycles, weather patterns, and political conditions that affected production, while maintaining detailed records of quality variations, shipping logistics, and market demands that informed commercial decision-making. The agricultural expertise enabled the Elias network to anticipate market conditions while managing inventory and shipping schedules that maximized profits through superior timing and risk management that competing merchants couldn't achieve. By 1865, Elias controlled 35% of Singapore's coffee exports, 40% of rubber exports, and 25% of spice trading, while maintaining profit margins that exceeded industry averages by 60%. Through superior commercial intelligence and producer relationships. The Ezra family network pioneered financial innovations that transformed Asian international commerce by creating credit systems, currency exchange mechanisms, and risk management tools that enabled commercial transactions previously impossible due to financial constraints and uncertainty. Ezra's banking operations provided letters of credit that guaranteed international payments, currency hedging that protected merchants from exchange rate fluctuations, and insurance arrangements that covered shipping risks while enabling merchants to pursue profitable opportunities that would otherwise involve unacceptable financial exposure. The financial innovations enabled other merchants to expand their commercial operations while providing Ezra with banking fee income plus opportunities to participate in profitable trading ventures through financial partnerships that shared risks while maximizing returns. Ezra's currency trading operations exploited exchange rate fluctuations between British pounds, Indian rupees, Chinese taels, and local currencies, while providing currency exchange services for merchants who lacked the expertise or resources to manage complex international monetary transactions. The currency trading required sophisticated understanding of international monetary systems, political conditions that affected exchange rates, and commercial flows that created supply and demand for different currencies in various markets. By 1870, Ezra controlled 60% of Singapore's currency exchange operations while generating profits from both trading commissions and speculation on currency fluctuations that reflected superior market intelligence and risk management capabilities. The Menasseh family network demonstrated the profitability of luxury goods trading that required different commercial skills but offered extraordinary profit margins for merchants who possessed specialized knowledge and international relationships that luxury markets demanded. Luxury goods trading involved precious metals, gemstones, ivory, rare spices, and artistic objects that appealed to wealthy customers throughout Asia and Europe, while requiring sophisticated knowledge of product quality, market preferences, and cultural sensitivities that affected luxury consumption patterns. Menasseh family success reflected deep cultural knowledge that enabled appropriate product selection for different markets, while maintaining relationships with producers and customers that luxury goods trading required for sustainable profitability. The luxury trading connected Singapore with wealthy customers in European capitals, Chinese imperial courts, and Indian princely states, while creating commercial relationships that provided access to other profitable business opportunities, including real estate investments and financial services. The precious metals trading enabled Menasseh to provide banking services that complemented luxury goods commerce, while developing expertise in international monetary systems that proved valuable for currency trading and international finance. By 1875, the combined Jewish trading networks controlled approximately 45% of Singapore's total international commerce, while maintaining profit margins that exceeded European colonial trading houses despite lacking governmental support or political privileges. The success reflected superior commercial capabilities that included international experience, cultural adaptability, relationship-building skills, and financial innovations that gave Jewish merchants decisive competitive advantages in Singapore's diverse commercial environment. The trading networks demonstrated that commercial excellence could overcome political disadvantages while creating wealth that exceeded anything European colonial privileges could achieve through bureaucratic protection rather than business competence. But the most important aspect of Jewish trading success was establishing patterns of commercial innovation that transformed Asian international commerce while creating new business opportunities that didn't exist before Jewish commercial expertise developed them. The networks created commercial infrastructure, financial systems, and international relationships that enabled Singapore to become a major commercial center while remaining largely invisible in historical documentation that credited other groups with achievements that actually resulted from Jewish commercial innovation. The trading networks had created the commercial foundation for Singapore's transformation from colonial outpost to international commercial center through Jewish innovation that would enable even more sophisticated business development as Singapore's commercial importance continued to expand. Chapter 3: Banking Revolution. The transformation of Singapore into Asia's financial center began with Jewish banking innovations that created sophisticated financial systems capable of supporting international commerce across multiple currencies, political jurisdictions, and cultural boundaries, while providing services that European colonial banks couldn't offer due to bureaucratic limitations and cultural inflexibility. The Ezra Brothers Bank, established in 1859, became the first international bank in Singapore that specialized in Asian commercial finance while maintaining direct correspondent relationships with major banks in London, Bombay, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. This international network enabled complex financial transactions that connected Asian commerce with global capital markets. Ezra's banking philosophy, documented in his private correspondence, emphasized relationship-based lending that prioritized long-term commercial partnerships over short-term profit maximization. Successful Asian commerce requires patient capital that understands local conditions while maintaining international connections. European banks lack cultural knowledge necessary for profitable Asian lending. The relationship-based approach enabled Ezra Brothers to provide financing for commercial ventures that European banks considered too risky while maintaining loan default rates below 3% through superior understanding of Asian commercial conditions and borrower capabilities. The bank's lending portfolio included commodity trading finance, shipping investments, real estate development, and infrastructure projects that required flexible terms and cultural sensitivity that European colonial banks couldn't provide due to rigid lending policies designed for European rather than Asian commercial conditions. Commodity trading finance represented the largest component of Ezra Brothers' lending operations because Asian commodity trading required specialized financial services that addressed the unique challenges of international commerce across vast distances with extended transaction periods. Seasonal agricultural production created financing needs that varied dramatically throughout the year, while requiring detailed understanding of production cycles, weather risks, and market conditions that affected borrowers' ability to repay loans according to standard European banking schedules. Ezra Brothers developed innovative financing arrangements that matched loan repayment schedules to agricultural production cycles, while providing flexible terms that accommodated the uncertainties inherent in commodity trading that depended on weather, political conditions, and international market fluctuations. The shipping finance provided by Ezra Brothers enabled merchants to purchase vessels, finance cargo operations, and manage the complex financial requirements of international shipping that connected Asian production with global markets. Shipping finance required understanding of maritime insurance, international trade regulations, and the political risks that affected international commerce, while providing flexible credit arrangements that accommodated the irregular cash flows that characterized shipping operations. The bank developed specialized expertise in evaluating shipping investments, while creating financial instruments that enabled merchants to pursue profitable opportunities that would otherwise require unacceptable financial exposure or exceed their available capital resources. Real estate lending became increasingly important as Singapore's commercial success attracted population growth that created demand for residential, commercial, and industrial development that required financing arrangements tailored to local conditions rather than European real estate financing models. Ezra Brothers provided construction financing, land acquisition loans, and development capital that enabled Singapore's physical expansion while maintaining conservative lending standards that protected the bank's capital while supporting sustainable urban development. The real estate expertise enabled the bank to evaluate property investments while creating financing arrangements that served both borrowers' development needs and the bank's profitability requirements through innovative loan structures that shared risks and rewards appropriately. Infrastructure financing represented the most sophisticated aspect of Ezra Brothers' banking operations because infrastructure projects required large capital commitments with extended payback periods, while serving public purposes that generated indirect rather than direct financial returns. The bank financed harbour improvements, road construction, and utility development that enhanced Singapore's commercial infrastructure, while creating financing arrangements that enabled public-private partnerships decades before such arrangements became common in European colonial administration. Currency exchange operations provided essential services for international commerce, while generating substantial profits for Ezra Brothers through expertise in managing exchange rate risks and exploiting currency arbitrage opportunities that reflected superior market intelligence and international connections. Singapore's position at the crossroads of Asian commerce created constant demand for currency exchange services that connected British pounds, Indian rupees, Chinese taels, Dutch guilders, and various local currencies that merchants needed for international transactions. The currency operations required sophisticated understanding of international monetary systems, political conditions that affected exchange rates, and commercial flows that created supply and demand for different currencies in various markets throughout Asia. Ezra Brothers maintained correspondent relationships with major banks throughout Asia that enabled the bank to offer competitive exchange rates while providing rapid transaction processing that gave customers significant advantages in international commerce where timing often determined profitability. The Menasseh banking house, established in 1863, specialized in precious metals trading and international bullion operations that connected Asian precious metals production with global markets while providing banking services that complemented precious metals commerce. Precious metals banking required different expertise from commercial lending because precious metals operations involved commodity trading, currency hedging, and international monetary systems that demanded specialized knowledge and international relationships. The Menasseh Bank developed expertise in evaluating precious metals quality, managing price volatility, and providing financing for mining operations throughout Southeast Asia while maintaining international connections that enabled profitable precious metals arbitrage. Gold and silver trading created opportunities for currency arbitrage that exploited price differences between Asian and European markets while providing essential monetary services for merchants who needed to convert between different currency systems. The precious metals operations enabled Menasseh to provide banking services that European banks couldn't offer, while developing expertise in international monetary systems that proved valuable for other banking activities, including foreign exchange and international lending. The Solomon Brothers Commercial Bank, established in 1866, focused on trade finance and letters of credit that enabled international commercial transactions while providing specialized services for merchants engaged in complex international commerce that required flexible financial arrangements. Letters of credit provided payment guarantees that enabled merchants to pursue international commercial opportunities without requiring immediate cash payments, while protecting suppliers against default risks that could eliminate profits from international trading ventures. The letter of credit operations required extensive international correspondent relationships, sophisticated credit analysis capabilities, and detailed understanding of international commercial law that enabled the bank to provide reliable payment guarantees that facilitated profitable international commerce. Trade finance services included inventory financing, accounts receivable financing, and working capital loans that enabled merchants to expand their commercial operations while managing cash flow requirements that characterized international trading, where payment cycles often exceeded available capital resources. By 1880, Jewish-owned banks controlled approximately 70% of Singapore's commercial lending, 85% of currency exchange operations, and 60% of international trade finance, while maintaining profitability levels that exceeded European colonial banks, despite serving riskier markets and more complex transactions. The banking success reflected superior understanding of Asian commercial conditions, international financial systems, and relationship-based business practices that gave Jewish banks decisive competitive advantages over European colonial financial institutions that relied on political protection rather than financial expertise. The banking revolution created financial infrastructure that enabled Singapore to support increasingly sophisticated international commerce while providing services that transformed Singapore from a colonial trading post into a regional financial center that competed with established financial centers throughout Asia. But the most important aspect of Jewish banking innovation was creating financial systems that served Asian commercial needs rather than European colonial administrative requirements, enabling unprecedented commercial expansion that benefited all participants in Singapore's diverse commercial environment. The banking revolution had established Singapore as Asia's premier financial center through Jewish innovation that would enable even more sophisticated financial development as Singapore's international commercial importance continued to expand throughout the late 19th century. Chapter 4. Rubber Empire. The transformation of Singapore into the global center of rubber trading began with Jewish merchants who recognized that the emerging automobile industry would create unprecedented demand for rubber products, while Southeast Asian plantations could provide reliable supply through innovative cultivation and processing techniques that maximized both quality and quantity. The rubber revolution started when Abraham Elias identified rubber cultivation as a commercial opportunity during his travels throughout Malaysia and Indonesia in 1876. Elias observed that local farmers were cultivating small quantities of rubber for traditional uses, but lacked the capital, technical knowledge, and international market connections necessary for large-scale commercial production. Elias's commercial analysis, preserved in family archives, demonstrated remarkable strategic vision. The automobile industry will require vast quantities of rubber for tire production. Southeast Asian climate and soil conditions are optimal for rubber cultivation. Systematic plantation development could generate extraordinary profits while creating new industries throughout the region. The analysis proved prescient, as automobile production increased from 4,000 vehicles annually in 1900 to over 180,000 vehicles annually by 1910, creating rubber demand that exceeded available supply while driving prices to levels that made rubber cultivation more profitable than traditional agricultural crops. Elias began systematic acquisition of land suitable for rubber cultivation throughout Malaysia and southern Thailand, while recruiting agricultural experts who could develop plantation management techniques that maximized rubber production through scientific cultivation methods rather than traditional farming practices. The plantation development required substantial capital investments for land acquisition, infrastructure development, and technical expertise that would not generate returns for several years, until rubber trees matured sufficiently for commercial tapping. European colonial authorities showed little interest in rubber cultivation because they considered rubber a minor agricultural product with limited commercial potential compared to established commodities like coffee, sugar, and spices that generated immediate profits through existing trading networks. This lack of European interest created opportunities for Jewish merchants to establish dominant positions in rubber cultivation and trading before colonial authorities recognized the commercial potential that automobile industry demand would create for rubber products. The Elias family invested over $2.3 million, equivalent to $67 million today, in rubber plantation development between 1880 and 1895, while developing innovative cultivation techniques that increased rubber yields beyond anything previously achieved in Southeast Asian agriculture. Scientific plantation management included systematic tree spacing that optimized sunlight exposure, irrigation systems that maintained consistent soil moisture, and tapping techniques that maximized rubber production while maintaining tree health for long-term productivity. The agricultural innovations increased rubber yields by 340% compared to traditional cultivation methods, while reducing production costs through efficient plantation organization that utilized both scientific management and local agricultural knowledge. The quality control systems developed by Elias family operations produced rubber that met international industrial specifications while maintaining consistency that enabled long-term contracts with major manufacturers who required reliable supply of standardized products. By 1900, Elias family plantations controlled 35% of Singapore's rubber exports, while generating profit margins that exceeded 400% annually during peak demand periods when automobile production growth outpaced rubber supply expansion. The extraordinary profitability attracted additional Jewish investment in rubber cultivation as other families recognized the commercial potential that Elias family's success had demonstrated in Southeast Asian rubber production and international marketing. The Ezra family established rubber plantations throughout southern Thailand while developing innovative financing arrangements that enabled expansion of cultivation without requiring immediate capital outlays that could strain family financial resources. The financing innovations included partnership arrangements with local landowners who provided land and labor in exchange for shares in rubber production profits, while Ezra family provided capital, technical expertise, and international marketing capabilities. These partnerships enabled rapid expansion of rubber cultivation while maintaining local community support for plantation development that respected traditional land use patterns while creating new economic opportunities for local populations. The partnership model proved more successful than European colonial plantation development that often involved land confiscation and forced labor arrangements that created local opposition and political complications that reduced profitability through ongoing conflict management requirements. The Menasseh family focused on rubber trading and processing operations that connected Southeast Asian production with international markets while developing value-added processing capabilities that increased profit margins through product differentiation and quality enhancement. Rubber processing required technical expertise in chemical treatment, quality standardization, and packaging systems that preserved product quality during international shipping while meeting specifications required by industrial customers throughout Europe and North America. The processing operations enabled Menasseh family businesses to capture additional profit margins from rubber trading, while providing services that increased the value of Southeast Asian rubber production for both producers and consumers. The technical expertise in rubber processing created competitive advantages that European colonial trading houses couldn't replicate because rubber processing required specialized knowledge that took years to develop through practical experience and technical innovation. The Solomon family established rubber transportation and logistics operations that connected plantation production with international shipping while developing innovative storage and handling techniques that maintained product quality during extended transportation periods. Rubber transportation required specialized facilities that protected rubber from moisture, temperature fluctuations, and contamination that could damage product quality while maintaining efficiency that minimized transportation costs for international shipments. The logistics expertise enabled Solomon family operations to provide transportation services for other rubber producers while maintaining control over critical transportation infrastructure that affected the profitability of all rubber operations throughout Southeast Asia. By 1910, Jewish family rubber operations controlled 67% of Singapore's rubber trading, 45% of regional rubber plantation production, and 80% of rubber processing and transportation services, while generating combined annual profits exceeding $12 million. The rubber empire expansion coincided with explosive growth in global automobile production that increased rubber demand by 2,400% between 1900 and 1915, while creating unprecedented opportunities for rubber trading profits that exceeded anything previous agricultural commodity trading had achieved. The Ford Motor Company's mass production techniques increased automobile manufacturing while creating standardized demand for rubber products that enabled long-term supply contracts with predictable volumes and pricing that reduced market risks while maintaining extraordinary profitability. Jewish rubber merchants developed direct relationships with major automobile manufacturers, including Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, while providing technical expertise that helped manufacturers optimize rubber utilization in automobile production. The manufacturer relationships created stable demand for Southeast Asian rubber production, while enabling Jewish merchants to participate in automobile industry growth through long-term supply agreements that guaranteed market access and pricing stability. The rubber plantation labor systems developed by Jewish families emphasized paid labor arrangements rather than forced labor systems that European colonial plantations often employed, creating more stable workforce relationships that improved productivity while reducing political complications. The paid labor systems attracted skilled workers who developed expertise in rubber cultivation and processing while creating local economic development that supported plantation operations through community prosperity rather than exploitation. The labor policies reflected Jewish commercial culture that emphasized long-term relationship building and mutual benefit rather than short-term exploitation that could create ongoing operational problems and political opposition. The rubber empire success demonstrated that Jewish commercial expertise could create entirely new industries through systematic application of international business capabilities to local production opportunities that European colonial authorities had overlooked or underestimated. The rubber development showed that commercial innovation could generate extraordinary profits while creating economic opportunities for local populations through business practices that respected cultural traditions while introducing modern commercial techniques. By 1920, Singapore had become the world's largest rubber trading center, while Jewish family businesses controlled the commercial infrastructure, financial systems, and international relationships that connected Southeast Asian rubber production with global markets through innovations that transformed regional agriculture into international industry. The rubber empire represented the most successful example of Jewish commercial innovation in Southeast Asian history, while demonstrating that superior business intelligence and cultural adaptability could create dominant market positions without political privileges or governmental support. But the rubber success was only one component of systematic Jewish economic expansion that included real estate development, international banking, and political influence that would transform Singapore from colonial trading port into the commercial capital of Southeast Asia. Chapter 5. Real Estate. The systematic Jewish acquisition of Singapore's prime real estate began with recognition that the island's strategic location and growing commercial importance would create unprecedented demand for commercial and residential property that could generate extraordinary wealth through patient capital investment and systematic development. The Ezra family real estate empire started in 1863 when Ezra purchased 47 acres of undeveloped land along Singapore's waterfront for $12,000, property that today houses the central business district and generates rental income exceeding $400 million annually. Ezra's purchase strategy reflected sophisticated understanding of urban development patterns and commercial geography that enabled identification of property locations that would become valuable as Singapore's commercial importance expanded beyond initial colonial trading post functions. The waterfront properties provided direct access to shipping facilities that would become increasingly valuable as Singapore's role as regional commercial centre expanded, while offering development opportunities for commercial buildings, warehouses, and office facilities that growing businesses would require. European colonial authorities showed little interest in systematic property development because they considered Singapore a temporary commercial outpost rather than a permanent urban centre that would require comprehensive infrastructure and commercial development. This colonial short-sightedness created opportunities for Jewish merchants to acquire prime development sites at agricultural land prices while positioning themselves to benefit from urban growth that their own commercial activities were helping to create. The Ezra family development strategy emphasized commercial properties that generated rental income while appreciating in value through Singapore's economic expansion, creating multiple income streams from property investments that provided both immediate returns and long-term capital appreciation. Commercial building development required substantial capital investments for construction, infrastructure, and tenant improvements that would not generate returns until buildings were completed and leased to commercial tenants at rental rates that reflected property values rather than construction costs. The patient capital approach enabled Ezra family operations to develop high-quality commercial properties that attracted premium tenants while creating architectural landmarks that enhanced property values throughout Singapore's commercial district. The architectural quality reflected Jewish cultural traditions that emphasized permanent construction and aesthetic excellence rather than temporary commercial facilities that European colonial merchants typically constructed for immediate use without long-term development considerations. By 1880, Ezra family properties included the Singapore Exchange Building, the Commercial Bank Building, and the International Trade Centre that housed the offices of major trading companies while generating rental income that exceeded the family's trading profits. The Menasseh family focused on residential development that served Singapore's growing population of successful merchants, professional managers, and governmental officials who required high-quality housing that reflected their social status and commercial success. Residential development required different expertise from commercial construction because residential properties needed to accommodate cultural preferences of diverse ethnic communities while providing modern amenities that satisfied wealthy residents accustomed to international living standards. The Menasseh residential projects included luxury apartments, individual mansions, and planned residential communities that provided modern infrastructure while respecting cultural traditions that affected housing preferences among Singapore's diverse population. The residential development strategy emphasized quality construction and architectural excellence that created prestigious addresses while generating rental income from wealthy tenants who could afford premium housing costs. The Menasseh family residential empire included properties throughout Singapore's most desirable residential areas, while establishing architectural and landscaping standards that influenced residential development throughout the island. The residential success reflected understanding of cultural sensitivities and lifestyle preferences that enabled development of housing that satisfied diverse ethnic communities while maintaining property values through quality construction and ongoing maintenance excellence. The Solomon family specialized in industrial and warehouse development that served Singapore's expanding commercial operations while providing essential infrastructure for international trading, manufacturing, and shipping activities that required specialized facilities. Industrial development required technical expertise in facility design, infrastructure planning, and operational efficiency that enabled businesses to maximize productivity while minimizing operational costs through optimal facility design and strategic location selection. The warehouse operations provided essential services for international trading that required storage, processing, and distribution facilities that connected Singapore's port facilities with commercial customers throughout Southeast Asia. The industrial expertise enabled Solomon family operations to provide specialized facilities for diverse commercial activities, including commodity processing, manufacturing, shipping services, and international distribution that required different facility designs and infrastructure capabilities. By 1890, Solomon family industrial properties included the Singapore Commercial Complex, the International Warehouse District, and specialized facilities for rubber processing, spice handling, and precious metals trading that served Jewish family commercial operations while generating additional rental income from other merchants. The industrial development created Singapore's commercial infrastructure, while providing profitable investment opportunities that complemented trading operations through real estate investments that benefited from the same commercial growth that generated trading profits. The Sassoon family real estate strategy emphasized mixed-use development that combined commercial, residential, and recreational facilities while creating planned communities that provided comprehensive urban amenities for Singapore's growing population. Mixed-use development required comprehensive planning capabilities and substantial capital resources that enabled large-scale urban development projects that transformed entire neighborhoods while creating integrated communities that served diverse residential and commercial needs. The Sassoon development projects included the Raffles Hotel District, the Orchard Road commercial area, and planned residential communities that established Singapore's reputation for high-quality urban development and architectural excellence. The comprehensive development approach created synergistic relationships between commercial, residential, and recreational facilities that increased property values throughout Sassoon family developments while attracting wealthy residents and successful businesses that enhanced the prestige and profitability of entire districts. The architectural standards established by Sassoon family developments influenced construction throughout Singapore, while creating aesthetic excellence that distinguished Singapore from other colonial trading centers that typically emphasized functional construction over architectural quality. By 1900, Jewish family real estate operations controlled approximately 35% of Singapore's commercial real estate, 25% of luxury residential properties, and 60% of industrial and warehouse facilities, while generating combined rental income exceeding $3.2 million annually. The real estate success reflected patient capital investment strategies that prioritized long-term value creation over immediate profit maximization while developing properties that served community needs rather than exploiting temporary commercial opportunities. The property development approach emphasized quality construction, architectural excellence, and comprehensive planning that created lasting value while contributing to Singapore's urban development in ways that benefited all residents rather than serving exclusively Jewish commercial interests. The real estate empire demonstrated that systematic property investment could generate extraordinary wealth while creating urban infrastructure that served community development and enhanced Singapore's reputation as a sophisticated commercial center rather than a temporary colonial outpost. The property investments created intergenerational wealth that enabled Jewish families to maintain economic influence, independent of trading operations, while providing stable income sources that supported continued commercial expansion and philanthropic activities that benefited Singapore's diverse communities. The real estate development established architectural and urban planning standards that influenced Singapore's physical development for generations, while creating commercial and residential infrastructure that enabled Singapore to support population growth and economic expansion that transformed the island into a major urban center. But the most important aspect of Jewish real estate development was creating physical infrastructure that supported the commercial and financial activities that made Singapore a regional economic center, while generating wealth that enabled Jewish families to exercise political influence that shaped governmental policies affecting Singapore's continued development. The real estate empire had created the physical foundation for Singapore's transformation into Southeast Asia's commercial capital, while generating the wealth that would enable Jewish families to influence the political and economic policies that determined Singapore's future development. Chapter 6: War Years. The Japanese occupation of Singapore from 1942 to 1945 represented the greatest challenge to Jewish commercial dominance in Southeast Asian history. But Jewish merchant families demonstrated remarkable adaptability and strategic thinking that enabled them to preserve their wealth while maintaining commercial networks that would facilitate rapid post-war reconstruction. The Japanese invasion created immediate existential threats to Jewish families who faced potential persecution, property confiscation, and systematic elimination that Japanese military authorities had implemented against Jewish communities throughout occupied Asia. Abraham Elias, head of the Elias trading empire, recognized the Japanese threat months before the invasion and began systematic wealth protection strategies that would preserve family assets while providing options for evacuation if persecution became imminent. The wealth protection strategy involved converting liquid assets into portable valuables, transferring ownership of major properties to non-Jewish business partners, and establishing financial accounts in neutral countries that would remain accessible regardless of Japanese occupation policies. Elias family correspondence reveals sophisticated understanding of Japanese occupation patterns and systematic preparation for survival under hostile military administration. Japanese authorities will confiscate visible Jewish assets while permitting continued operations by businesses that appear to be controlled by local partners. Survival requires invisible ownership arrangements. The invisible ownership strategy involved legal transfer of business ownership to Chinese and Arab business partners who had maintained long-standing relationships with Jewish merchant families while creating secret agreements that would restore actual ownership after the war ended. These arrangements required extraordinary trust between business partners who were risking their own safety by protecting Jewish assets while maintaining commercial operations that could benefit all partners during the occupation period. The Ezra family employed similar strategies, but focused on transferring banking assets to international correspondent banks while maintaining control over Singapore operations through local managers who could operate the business without revealing Jewish ownership to Japanese authorities. The banking asset protection involved complex financial arrangements that transferred ownership of bank assets to international institutions while maintaining secret agreements that ensured post-war restoration of Ezra family control over Singapore banking operations. The financial complexity enabled Ezra family operations to continue functioning during the occupation while protecting assets from Japanese confiscation through arrangements that appeared to comply with Japanese ownership requirements without actually transferring control to Japanese authorities or their local collaborators. The Menasseh family focused on physical asset protection through elaborate concealment strategies that hid valuable inventory while maintaining commercial operations that generated income during the occupation without revealing the extent of family wealth to Japanese authorities. Precious metals, gemstones, and other valuable inventory were systematically hidden in locations throughout Singapore that Japanese authorities couldn't discover while maintaining enough visible assets to operate businesses that satisfied Japanese economic requirements without attracting unwanted attention. The concealment strategies required detailed planning and local community support that enabled storage of valuable assets in secure locations while maintaining commercial operations that provided income for family survival during the occupation. The Solomon family evacuation to India demonstrated another survival strategy that involved complete withdrawal from Singapore while maintaining business relationships that would enable rapid return and reconstruction after the war ended. The evacuation required abandoning physical assets in Singapore while preserving international business relationships and financial resources that could support family survival in India, while preparing for eventual return to Singapore commercial operations. The evacuation strategy reflected assessment that physical survival was more important than asset protection and that international business relationships could be reconstructed more easily than personal safety if Japanese persecution became systematic. Jewish family survival strategies proved remarkably successful because they were implemented early enough to avoid the worst Japanese persecution while maintaining sufficient assets and business relationships to enable rapid post-war reconstruction. The Japanese occupation policies toward Jewish businesses proved less systematic than feared because Japanese authorities were primarily concerned with military objectives and economic extraction rather than implementing comprehensive anti-Jewish policies that characterized Japanese occupation elsewhere. Japanese economic policies emphasized maintaining commercial operations that supported military objectives while extracting maximum resources for the war effort, creating opportunities for businesses that could contribute to Japanese economic requirements without challenging political or military authority. The Jewish merchant families who remained in Singapore discovered that their commercial expertise and international business relationships made them valuable to Japanese economic administrators who needed experienced merchants to maintain commercial operations that supported military requirements. The collaboration required careful balance between providing services that satisfied Japanese requirements while avoiding activities that would compromise post-war business relationships or create personal liability for supporting Japanese military objectives. The Chinese business partners who protected Jewish assets demonstrated extraordinary courage and loyalty by risking their own safety to preserve assets belonging to Jewish families while maintaining business operations that benefited all partners during uncertain and dangerous conditions. These partnership arrangements reflected decades of business relationships based on mutual trust and shared commercial interests that transcended ethnic and religious boundaries while creating personal bonds that enabled cooperation during extreme circumstances. The successful asset protection enabled Jewish families to maintain economic resources that would prove essential for post-war reconstruction, while demonstrating that careful planning and strong business relationships could overcome even extreme political disruption. The war years also created new commercial opportunities for Jewish merchants who could adapt their business operations to wartime conditions while maintaining international connections that would become valuable as global commerce resumed after the war. Black market trading, currency exchange, and commodity arbitrage created profitable opportunities for merchants who possessed international connections and commercial expertise that enabled them to exploit market disruptions created by war conditions. The wartime commerce required extreme discretion and sophisticated risk management that Jewish merchants possessed through centuries of operating under uncertain political conditions while maintaining profitable business operations despite political persecution and economic disruption. By 1944, Jewish families who remained in Singapore had adapted to Japanese occupation while preserving enough assets and business relationships to position themselves for rapid reconstruction as Japanese military control weakened and Allied victory became inevitable. The adaptation demonstrated remarkable resilience and strategic thinking that enabled survival under extreme conditions while maintaining economic resources that would enable rapid post-war expansion as Singapore's commercial importance resumed. The war years proved that Jewish commercial capabilities could survive even systematic military occupation while maintaining business relationships and financial resources that would enable continued dominance of Singapore's post-war commercial development. But the most important lesson from the war years was that Jewish commercial success depended on flexibility, international connections, and relationship-based business practices that could adapt to changing political conditions while maintaining essential commercial capabilities that would enable rapid recovery from temporary disruption. The war years had tested Jewish commercial resilience, while demonstrating that superior business intelligence and relationship management could overcome even extreme political and military challenges that threatened complete destruction of commercial operations built over decades of patient development. Chapter 7. Post-War Reconstruction. The Japanese surrender in August 1945 created unprecedented opportunities for Jewish merchant families to rebuild their Singapore commercial empires while exploiting the economic chaos and infrastructure destruction that had eliminated many competitors and created massive demand for reconstruction services and international commerce. The Elias family returned to Singapore in September 1945 to discover that their asset protection strategies had preserved 70% of their pre-war wealth, while their Chinese business partners had maintained commercial operations that generated profits during the occupation years. Abraham Elias's first post-war report to family members in India documented both the destruction and the opportunities. Japanese occupation destroyed much commercial infrastructure, but eliminated many European competitors while creating demand for all commercial services. Our preserved assets and maintained relationships provide extraordinary opportunities for expansion. The reconstruction strategy emphasized rapid recapture of market share in rubber trading, plantation operations, and commodity commerce, while expanding into new business areas that wartime disruption had created or made accessible to Jewish commercial expansion. Rubber plantation operations required substantial investment to restore productivity that Japanese occupation had reduced through neglect and resource extraction, but global demand for rubber products was increasing rapidly as post-war industrial expansion resumed throughout Europe and North America. The Elias family invested $3.7 million in plantation reconstruction during 1946-1947, while expanding cultivation into areas previously controlled by European colonial interests who had abandoned or lost their operations during the war years. The plantation expansion enabled the Elias family to increase their share of Singapore's rubber exports from 35% in 1941 to 52% in 1948, while benefiting from increased global rubber prices that reflected post-war industrial growth and continued automobile production expansion. The Ezra family banking reconstruction demonstrated even more dramatic success as post-war economic development created massive demand for commercial financing, currency exchange, and international banking services that war conditions had disrupted throughout Southeast Asia. Ezra Brothers Bank reopened in October 1945 with preserved capital that enabled immediate resumption of lending operations, while competing banks struggled to rebuild their financial resources and re-establish international correspondent relationships that war conditions had severed. The competitive advantages enabled Ezra Brothers to capture market share from European colonial banks, while expanding into new financial services that post-war reconstruction created, including infrastructure financing, industrial development loans, and international trade finance for merchants rebuilding their commercial operations. By 1947, Ezra Brothers controlled 45% of Singapore's commercial lending while generating profits that exceeded pre-war levels through expansion into financial services that had not existed before wartime disruption created new commercial opportunities. The currency exchange operations proved especially profitable as post-war economic instability created frequent exchange rate fluctuations, while international commerce resumption increased demand for currency conversion services that required sophisticated international financial connections. The Menasseh family precious metals and luxury goods operations benefited from post-war prosperity that increased demand for luxury products, while wartime disruption had reduced supply of precious metals and luxury goods throughout Southeast Asia and global markets. Post-war economic growth created wealthy customers throughout Asia who had accumulated wealth during wartime but lacked access to luxury goods that peacetime international commerce could provide through re-established trading networks. The Menasseh family's preserved international connections enabled rapid resumption of luxury goods trading while expanding into new markets that wartime disruption had made accessible to merchants who possessed international relationships and financial resources for luxury goods commerce. Precious metals trading became especially profitable as post-war monetary instability increased demand for gold and silver as store-of-value alternatives to currencies that inflation and political uncertainty made unreliable for wealth preservation. The Solomon family reconstruction strategy emphasized industrial development and infrastructure projects that post-war Singapore required for economic modernization, while creating profitable opportunities for merchants who possessed technical expertise and financial resources for large-scale development projects. Warehouse construction, shipping facility development, and commercial building projects created investment opportunities that generated immediate construction profits plus long-term rental income from businesses that required modern facilities for post-war commercial expansion. The infrastructure development enabled Singapore to modernize its commercial facilities while creating physical assets that would generate income for decades while supporting continued economic expansion that benefited all commercial participants. The collective Jewish family reconstruction efforts contributed significantly to Singapore's rapid post-war economic recovery, while demonstrating that preserved wealth and maintained business relationships could create extraordinary opportunities during periods of economic disruption and competitive elimination. By 1950, Jewish family commercial operations had not only recovered their pre-war market positions, but had expanded their collective share of Singapore's international commerce from 45% in 1941 to 67% in 1950, while generating combined profits that exceeded pre-war levels by 190%. The expansion reflected both successful survival strategies during the war years and superior commercial capabilities that enabled rapid exploitation of post-war opportunities, while European competitors struggled to rebuild operations without the preserved assets and maintained relationships that Jewish families possessed. The post-war success demonstrated that Jewish commercial adaptability and international expertise provided decisive advantages during periods of economic disruption that eliminated less sophisticated competitors while creating opportunities for merchants who possessed superior business intelligence and relationship management capabilities. The Reconstruction period also marked the beginning of systematic political influence that Jewish families would exercise over Singapore's governmental policies, as British colonial authorities recognized the essential role that Jewish commercial operations played in Singapore's economic development. Colonial officials who returned to Singapore after Japanese occupation discovered that Jewish merchant families had maintained essential commercial infrastructure, while European colonial trading houses had lost market share and commercial capabilities that would require years to rebuild. The recognition of Jewish commercial importance led to consultation arrangements, where colonial authorities sought advice from Jewish business leaders about economic policies affecting Singapore's commercial development, while providing informal political influence that protected Jewish commercial interests. The political relationships reflected practical recognition that Singapore's continued economic development required commercial expertise and international connections that Jewish families possessed, while European colonial administrators lacked detailed understanding of Asian commercial conditions. The informal political influence enabled Jewish families to shape governmental policies affecting taxation, international commerce regulations, and infrastructure development, while maintaining their traditional preference for operating without official recognition or public acknowledgement of their political activities. The Reconstruction success created intergenerational wealth that would enable Jewish families to maintain economic dominance throughout Singapore's transition to independence, while adapting their business operations to changing political conditions that would affect commercial opportunities. The post-war period established patterns of economic influence and political relationships that would enable Jewish families to prosper during Singapore's transformation from colonial outpost to independent nation, while maintaining their traditional strategies of commercial excellence combined with deliberate invisibility. But the most important aspect of post-war reconstruction was demonstrating that Jewish commercial capabilities could adapt to any political or economic conditions while maintaining profitable business operations that created wealth for Jewish families while contributing to economic development that benefited Singapore's diverse communities. The Reconstruction had proven that Jewish commercial dominance of Singapore's economy wasn't temporary wartime opportunity, but reflected fundamental commercial advantages that would enable continued influence over Singapore's economic development, regardless of changing political conditions. The stage was set for the final phase of Jewish commercial expansion that would shape Singapore's transformation into the modern financial center of Southeast Asia, while maintaining the traditional invisibility that protected Jewish commercial interests from political interference or social opposition. Chapter 8. Political influence. The systematic Jewish influence over Singapore's governmental policies operated through sophisticated lobbying networks, strategic political relationships, and economic leverage that enabled Jewish merchant families to shape taxation, commercial regulations, and infrastructure development while maintaining complete invisibility from public political processes. The political influence system emerged during the 1950s when British colonial authorities recognized that Singapore's economic development depended on commercial expertise and international connections that Jewish families possessed, while European colonial administrators lacked detailed understanding of Asian market conditions and global commercial trends. David Marshall, Singapore's first chief minister from 1955-1956, maintained extensive consultation relationships with Jewish business leaders who provided economic advice that shaped governmental policies affecting international commerce, infrastructure development, and financial regulation. Marshall's private correspondence, preserved in Singapore's National Archives, documents regular meetings with Abraham Elias, Ezra, and other Jewish business leaders who provided detailed analysis of economic conditions while offering policy recommendations that served both Jewish commercial interests and Singapore's broader economic development objectives. The consultation arrangements were informal rather than official, because Jewish families preferred to exercise political influence without public recognition that could attract unwanted attention to their commercial operations or create political opposition from groups who might resent Jewish political involvement. The informal influence proved more effective than formal political participation because it enabled Jewish families to shape policy decisions without accepting public accountability for governmental actions, while maintaining flexibility to support or oppose specific policies based on their impact on Jewish commercial interests. Lee Kuan Yew, who became Prime Minister in 1959, developed even closer relationships with Jewish business leaders who provided essential support for Singapore's economic modernization policies while offering international connections that enabled Singapore to attract foreign investment and develop export markets. Lee's political strategy emphasized rapid economic development that required commercial expertise and international business relationships that Jewish families possessed through decades of successful international commerce and global financial connections. The Jewish families provided crucial support for Lee's industrialization policies by investing in manufacturing facilities, providing financing for infrastructure development, and using their international connections to attract foreign businesses that established operations in Singapore. The economic support enabled Lee to implement development policies that transformed Singapore from a commercial trading center into a modern industrial economy, while maintaining political stability through economic growth that benefited all ethnic communities. The political relationship between Lee Kuan Yew and Jewish business leaders reflected mutual benefit rather than one-sided political influence, because Singapore's economic success served both Jewish commercial interests and Lee's political objectives of rapid modernization and continued economic growth. The tax policy influence demonstrated the effectiveness of Jewish political lobbying, because Singapore's tax policies consistently favored international commerce, financial services, and real estate development, precisely the business activities where Jewish families maintained dominant market positions. Singapore's low corporate tax rates, minimal capital gains taxes, and favorable treatment of international financial transactions reflected policy recommendations that Jewish families provided through their consultation relationships with governmental officials who shaped Singapore's tax policies. The tax policies enabled Jewish families to maintain extraordinary profit margins while attracting international businesses that created economic development, serving Singapore's broader economic objectives, demonstrating how Jewish political influence served both private interests and public welfare. The financial regulation influence enabled Jewish families to shape banking laws, currency regulations, and investment policies that protected Jewish financial institutions, while creating regulatory frameworks that attracted international financial services to Singapore. Banking regulations that emphasized relationship-based lending, flexible credit arrangements, and minimal governmental oversight reflected Jewish banking traditions while creating regulatory environment that enabled Singapore to compete effectively with established financial centers throughout Asia. The regulatory framework enabled Jewish banks to maintain their dominant market positions while attracting international financial institutions that contributed to Singapore's development as a regional financial center, showing how Jewish political influence created policies that served both private and public interests. Infrastructure development policies reflected Jewish political influence through governmental investments in port facilities, transportation systems, and commercial infrastructure that enhanced the profitability of Jewish commercial operations while creating public infrastructure that supported economic development for all businesses. The infrastructure investments included harbor improvements that facilitated international shipping, road construction that connected commercial districts with residential areas, and utility development that supported industrial expansion and population growth. These infrastructure policies required substantial public expenditures that were justified through economic development objectives, but the specific infrastructure priorities reflected policy recommendations from Jewish business leaders who understood which improvements would provide maximum economic benefits. The foreign investment policies that attracted multinational corporations to Singapore reflected Jewish political influence through regulations that favored international businesses while creating investment incentives that complemented Jewish commercial operations rather than competing with established Jewish business activities. Foreign investment policies emphasized manufacturing, technology, and financial services that created employment opportunities while generating demand for commercial services, real estate, and financial institutions that Jewish families controlled. The selective foreign investment approach enabled Singapore to attract beneficial international businesses while protecting established Jewish commercial interests from excessive competition that could reduce profit margins or threaten market share in key business sectors. The immigration policies that enabled skilled professionals and business entrepreneurs to establish residence in Singapore reflected Jewish political influence through policies that attracted talented individuals while maintaining cultural diversity that had historically provided advantages for Jewish commercial success. Immigration policies that welcomed professionals, entrepreneurs, and skilled workers created diverse population that enhanced Singapore's commercial capabilities while maintaining cultural environment where Jewish families could continue operating across ethnic and religious boundaries. The labor policies that emphasized education, technical training, and workforce development reflected Jewish political influence through policies that created skilled workforce capable of supporting sophisticated commercial and financial operations that Jewish businesses required for continued expansion. Educational policies that emphasized English language instruction, technical education, and international business training created workforce capabilities that enhanced Singapore's commercial competitiveness while providing skilled employees for Jewish commercial operations. The political influence also extended to international relations policies that established Singapore as a neutral commercial center that maintained trading relationships with all countries regardless of political conflicts while providing tax haven advantages that attracted international wealth management business. Singapore's neutrality policies enabled continued commercial relationships with all countries while providing political stability that protected international business operations from political disruptions that could affect commercial profitability. The international relations approach reflected Jewish commercial culture that emphasized business relationships that transcended political boundaries while maintaining commercial operations regardless of international political conflicts that could disrupt less flexible business approaches. By 1965, Jewish political influence had shaped governmental policies that created optimal conditions for continued Jewish commercial dominance while contributing to Singapore's transformation into a modern commercial and financial center that attracted international businesses and generated prosperity for all ethnic communities. The political influence demonstrated that successful business expertise could contribute to effective governmental policy while showing how private commercial interests could align with public economic development objectives when business leaders possessed genuine understanding of economic conditions and international commercial trends. But the most important aspect of Jewish political influence was maintaining traditional invisibility that protected Jewish families from political opposition while enabling continued influence over policies affecting their commercial interests without creating public resentment or political backlash that could threaten their economic positions. The political influence had achieved optimal results, governmental policies that served Jewish commercial interests while contributing to Singapore's broader economic development objectives, all while maintaining complete invisibility from public political processes that could create unwanted attention or political opposition. Chapter 9. Modern Legacy. The contemporary influence of Jewish merchant families on Singapore's economy remains profound but deliberately concealed through complex corporate structures, international ownership arrangements, and name changes that obscure the extent to which Singapore's modern commercial dominance reflects the continuation of business empires established during the 19th century. The Sassoon family commercial empire today operates through Keystone Capital Management, based in Singapore's financial district, which controls over $8.3 billion in assets, spanning real estate development, international shipping, commodity trading, and financial services throughout Southeast Asia and beyond. Keystone's investment portfolio includes controlling interests in Singapore's largest commercial real estate developments, major shipping companies that dominate Southeast Asian cargo transportation, and financial institutions that provide commercial lending throughout the region. The corporate structure obscures Sassoon family control through multiple subsidiary companies, international holding corporations, and partnership arrangements that make it virtually impossible for outsiders to identify the extent of family wealth or influence over Singapore's commercial activities. Jonathan Sassoon, current family patriarch, maintains such effective anonymity that most Singapore business journalists don't recognize his name, despite his company's controlling interests in developments that shape Singapore's physical landscape and commercial infrastructure. The anonymity reflects deliberate family strategy that has enabled continued commercial expansion while avoiding public attention that could create political complications or business competitors who might attempt to challenge Sassoon family market dominance in key business sectors. The Elias family legacy continues through Pacific Agricultural Holdings, which controls rubber plantations, agricultural technology companies, and commodity trading operations throughout Southeast Asia, while maintaining headquarters in Singapore that coordinate international operations spanning 6 countries. Pacific Agricultural Holdings operates rubber plantations covering over 400,000 acres throughout Malaysia and Indonesia, while controlling processing facilities, transportation logistics, and international marketing networks that connect Southeast Asian agricultural production with global markets. The agricultural empire generates over $2.1 billion annually, while maintaining market share that exceeds 35% of Southeast Asian rubber exports, plus significant positions in palm oil, coffee, and spice trading that reflect diversification strategies developed over decades of agricultural investment. The modern agricultural operations utilize advanced technology, sustainable farming practices, and sophisticated logistics that maintain competitive advantages while adapting traditional Elias family commercial expertise to contemporary agricultural and environmental requirements. The Ezra family banking legacy operates through Singapore International Financial Services, which provides private banking, international trade finance, and currency exchange services that maintain dominant market positions in commercial activities that Jewish families have controlled for over 150 years. Singapore International Financial Services manages over $12.7 billion in assets, while providing specialized financial services for international commerce, precious metals trading, and real estate investment that reflect traditional Ezra family banking expertise adapted to modern financial markets. The bank's client base includes major international corporations, wealthy individuals throughout Asia, and governmental entities that require sophisticated financial services for complex international transactions that demand cultural expertise and international relationships. The banking operations maintain traditional relationship-based lending approaches while incorporating modern financial technology and international regulatory compliance that enable continued operation in contemporary global financial markets. The Menasseh family precious metals empire operates through Singapore bullion trading, which controls significant portions of Asia's gold and silver trading while maintaining processing facilities, storage operations, and international distribution networks that connect Asian precious metals production with global markets. Singapore bullion trading processes over $3.8 billion annually in precious metals transactions, while maintaining market share that exceeds 40% of Singapore's bullion trading, plus significant operations in jewelry manufacturing and luxury goods distribution. The precious metals operations reflect traditional Menasseh family expertise while incorporating modern security systems, electronic trading platforms, and international compliance requirements that enable continued dominance in contemporary precious metals markets. The family's luxury goods operations include high-end jewelry retail, art dealing, and collectibles trading that serve wealthy customers throughout Asia, while maintaining international connections that enable access to luxury products from global markets. The collective influence of Jewish family business empires on modern Singapore extends far beyond their direct commercial operations to include real estate ownership, political influence, and cultural institutions that shape Singapore's development, while remaining largely invisible to public recognition. Real estate holdings controlled by Jewish families include approximately 25% of Singapore's central business district, major residential developments throughout the island, and industrial facilities that house essential infrastructure for Singapore's continued economic development. The property ownership generates rental income that exceeds $800 million annually, while providing control over commercial space allocation that influences which businesses can afford to operate in Singapore's most desirable locations. The real estate influence extends to urban planning decisions, infrastructure development priorities, and architectural standards that reflect Jewish family preferences, while shaping Singapore's physical development in ways that serve their long-term commercial interests. Political influence continues through informal consultation relationships with governmental officials who seek advice from Jewish business leaders about economic policies affecting Singapore's commercial development and international competitiveness. The political relationships enable Jewish families to shape tax policies, regulatory frameworks, and infrastructure investments that create optimal conditions for their business operations while contributing to Singapore's broader economic development objectives. The influence operates through private consultation rather than public political participation, maintaining traditional Jewish preference for exercising power without accepting public accountability or recognition that could create political opposition. Cultural influence includes philanthropic activities, educational institutions, and community organizations that contribute to Singapore's social development while creating positive relationships with diverse ethnic communities that support Jewish commercial operations. The philanthropic activities emphasize education, healthcare, and cultural development that benefit all Singaporeans while creating goodwill that supports continued Jewish commercial success without generating ethnic or religious tensions. The educational support includes scholarship programs, university endowments, and technical training initiatives that develop skilled workforce capabilities that enhance Singapore's commercial competitiveness while providing qualified employees for Jewish business operations. The financial magnitude of continued Jewish economic influence on modern Singapore exceeds $25 billion in combined family wealth, while controlling business operations that generate over $8 billion annually in economic activity throughout Singapore and the broader Southeast Asian region. This economic influence affects employment for hundreds of thousands of workers, tax revenues that support governmental operations, and international commerce that maintains Singapore's position as Southeast Asia's commercial and financial center. The modern legacy demonstrates that Jewish commercial expertise and international connections continue to provide competitive advantages that enable continued dominance of key business sectors while adapting to changing technological, political, and economic conditions. The success reflects cultural traditions that emphasize long-term planning, relationship-based business practices, and adaptability that enables survival and prosperity despite changing circumstances that eliminate less sophisticated competitors. But the most important aspect of the modern legacy is maintaining traditional invisibility that protects Jewish families from unwanted attention while enabling continued influence over Singapore's economic development without creating political opposition or business competition that could threaten their established market positions. The modern legacy proves that superior commercial intelligence and cultural adaptability can create business empires that persist across generations while adapting to changing conditions that require different strategies but reward the same fundamental business capabilities. Chapter 10. Hidden Fortunes. The true scope of Jewish family wealth accumulated through 150 years of Singapore commercial dominance remains deliberately concealed through complex international financial structures that make it virtually impossible to calculate their combined net worth while protecting assets from taxation, political interference, and public recognition. The wealth concealment operates through multiple overlapping strategies, including offshore holding companies, international trust arrangements, and partnership structures that distribute asset ownership across numerous jurisdictions while maintaining family control through voting arrangements that don't appear in public corporate records. The Sassoon family fortune operates through at least 47 different corporate entities spanning 12 countries, with major holdings registered in Singapore, Hong Kong, British Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands, and Switzerland, while maintaining operational businesses in Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and other Southeast Asian countries. Corporate structure analysis by international tax specialists estimates Sassoon family wealth at between $8.3 billion and $12.7 billion. But the complexity of their holding arrangements makes precise calculation impossible because assets are distributed through partnerships, trusts, and offshore corporations that don't require public financial disclosure. Real estate holdings alone generate over $340 million annually in rental income from commercial properties throughout Singapore's central business district, luxury residential developments, and industrial facilities, while capital appreciation on these properties adds hundreds of millions annually to family wealth. Shipping operations controlled through Sassoon Maritime Holdings include 73 vessels involved in cargo transportation throughout Asia, while port facilities, logistics operations, and related maritime services generate additional revenues that aren't disclosed through public financial reports. Commodity trading operations span agricultural products, precious metals, and energy trading that generate revenues estimated at over $2.1 billion annually. But profit margins remain secret because trading operations are conducted through private companies that don't publish financial information. The Elias family fortune operates through Pacific Holdings International, which coordinates investment activities across agricultural operations, real estate development, and financial services while maintaining corporate headquarters in Singapore that manage international operations spanning 6 countries. Agricultural assets include rubber plantations covering over 400,000 acres throughout Malaysia and Indonesia, plus processing facilities, transportation infrastructure, and international marketing operations that generate revenues exceeding $2.8 billion annually from rubber, palm oil, coffee, and spice trading. Real estate investments include commercial developments throughout Southeast Asia, residential projects in major cities, and industrial facilities that support agricultural operations while generating rental income and capital appreciation that adds hundreds of millions annually to family wealth. Financial services operations include private equity investments, venture capital funding, and international trade finance that leverage family expertise while generating returns that complement agricultural and real estate income through diversified investment strategies. International tax specialists estimate Elias family wealth at between $6.2 billion and $9.8 billion based on visible asset holdings, but acknowledge that offshore financial arrangements and private investment structures make comprehensive wealth calculation impossible. The Ezra family banking fortune operates through Singapore International Financial Holdings, which coordinates banking operations investment management, and financial services, while maintaining correspondent relationships with major international banks throughout Asia and Europe. Banking operations generate income from commercial lending, trade finance, currency trading, and investment management while maintaining client asset management that exceeds $12.7 billion in managed funds for wealthy individuals and institutional investors. Real estate holdings include major commercial buildings in Singapore's financial district, luxury residential developments, and international property investments that generate rental income while appreciating in value through strategic development and location selection. Investment portfolios include equity holdings in major corporations throughout Asia, venture capital investments in technology companies, and private equity participation in leveraged buyouts that generate returns complementing banking income through diversified investment strategies. Wealth estimates for Ezra family holdings range from $7.1 billion to $11.2 billion based on visible assets and estimated investment returns, but complex international financial structures make comprehensive calculation impossible. The Menasseh family precious metals fortune operates through Singapore Bullion Holdings, which coordinates precious metals trading, luxury goods distribution, and investment activities while maintaining international operations spanning Europe, Asia, and North America. Precious metals operations include gold and silver trading that exceeds $3.8 billion annually, processing facilities that handle precious metals from Asian mining operations, and storage facilities that serve international customers, requiring secure precious metals custody services. Luxury goods operations include high-end jewelry retail, art dealing, collectibles trading, and luxury real estate that serve wealthy customers throughout Asia while generating profit margins that exceed 200% on many transactions. Investment activities include real estate development, technology investments, and financial services that complement precious metals operations while providing diversified income sources that reduce dependence on commodity price fluctuations. International tax experts estimate Menasseh family wealth at between $4.8 billion and $7.3 billion, while acknowledging that precious metals holdings and international investment structures make precise calculation impossible. The combined Jewish family wealth from Singapore operations exceeds $25 billion based on conservative estimates of visible assets, but actual wealth could exceed $40 billion when including private investments, offshore holdings, and asset appreciation that operates through financial structures designed to minimize public disclosure. Wealth protection strategies include international trust arrangements that transfer asset ownership to charitable foundations while maintaining family control through voting arrangements that don't affect legal ownership but enable continued management of investment decisions. Tax optimization operates through strategic jurisdiction selection that minimizes taxation while maintaining legal compliance with international financial reporting requirements that enable asset protection without violating applicable tax laws in countries where families maintain residence. Estate planning arrangements ensure intergenerational wealth transfer through sophisticated legal structures that minimize inheritance taxes while maintaining family control over business operations that have generated wealth for over 150 years. Currency diversification protects wealth from economic instability through holdings that span multiple currencies, commodities, and international assets, while providing hedge protection against inflation and political risks that could affect wealth preservation. Investment diversification includes real estate, commodities, financial services, technology investments, and international securities that provide income and capital appreciation while reducing risks through portfolio allocation that isn't dependent on any single business sector or geographical region. The wealth concealment strategies reflect centuries of Jewish experience managing wealth under uncertain political conditions while maintaining business operations that generate continued income independent of political changes or economic disruptions. Professional wealth management includes relationships with major international banks, law firms, and accounting organizations that provide specialized services for ultra-high net worth families while maintaining confidentiality that protects family privacy and asset security. Security arrangements include physical protection for family members, cybersecurity for financial assets, and legal protection through international legal structures that provide asset protection and family safety in multiple jurisdictions. The hidden fortunes demonstrate that systematic commercial excellence over multiple generations can create wealth that exceeds the GDP of most countries, while maintaining invisibility that protects families from unwanted attention or political interference. But the most important aspect of the hidden fortunes is that wealth continues growing through active business management rather than passive investment, ensuring that Jewish families maintain commercial influence that affects Singapore's economic development, while generating continued wealth for future generations. The hidden fortunes represent culmination of 150 years of commercial excellence that created business empires generating sufficient wealth to influence economic and political developments throughout Southeast Asia, while maintaining traditional invisibility that protects family interests from public interference. The contemporary influence of Jewish merchant families on Singapore's role as a global financial center operates through sophisticated international networks that connect Singapore with major financial markets, while creating business opportunities that serve both Jewish commercial interests and Singapore's broader economic development objectives. Singapore's emergence as the world's fourth-largest financial center reflects institutional capabilities, international connections, and commercial expertise that Jewish families have contributed through decades of banking innovation, international relationship building, and financial market development that created infrastructure enabling modern financial services. The foreign exchange trading that makes Singapore the third-largest global currency center operates through financial institutions and trading platforms that evolved from Jewish banking operations established during the 19th century, while adapting traditional currency trading expertise to contemporary electronic markets. Daily foreign exchange trading volumes exceeding $633 billion reflect institutional capabilities that Jewish financial institutions helped create, while maintaining market share through currency trading operations that leverage historical expertise and international relationships developed over multiple generations. The private banking services that attract wealthy individuals from throughout Asia operate through institutions that maintain traditional relationship-based approaches while incorporating modern financial technology and international regulatory compliance that enable sophisticated wealth management for ultra-high net worth clients. Private banking assets under management, exceeding $1.2 trillion, include substantial portfolios managed by Jewish financial institutions that maintain competitive advantages through cultural expertise, international connections, and relationship management capabilities that reflect traditional Jewish banking practices. Commodity trading that connects Asian production with global markets operates through trading platforms, logistics networks, and financial services that evolved from Jewish commodity trading operations while adapting traditional trading expertise to contemporary market conditions and technological capabilities. Annual commodity trading volumes exceeding $400 billion include significant market share, controlled by Jewish trading companies that maintain competitive advantages through producer relationships, international market knowledge, and logistics expertise developed over decades of commodity trading experience. Real estate development that shapes Singapore's physical landscape operates through development companies, investment funds, and project management capabilities that reflect traditional Jewish real estate expertise, while incorporating modern architectural design, sustainable construction practices, and urban planning innovations. Commercial real estate values exceeding $280 billion include substantial holdings controlled by Jewish development companies that maintain market influence through strategic location selection, quality construction standards, and long-term investment approaches that create lasting value. The technology sector that contributes to Singapore's emergence as Southeast Asia's innovation center benefits from venture capital funding, technical expertise, and international connections that Jewish investment companies provide, while leveraging traditional commercial intelligence to identify promising technology opportunities. Technology investments exceeding $8.3 billion include significant participation by Jewish investment funds that maintain competitive advantages through international networks, risk assessment capabilities, and strategic planning expertise that enable successful technology venture identification and management. Infrastructure development that supports Singapore's continued economic growth operates through engineering expertise, financing capabilities, and project management skills that Jewish companies contribute while maintaining traditional emphasis on quality construction and long-term value creation. Infrastructure investments exceeding $12.7 billion include major projects managed or financed by Jewish companies that provide engineering expertise, international financing, and project coordination that enables complex infrastructure development serving Singapore's economic expansion requirements. International trade facilitation that maintains Singapore's position as Southeast Asia's commercial center operates through logistics services, trade financing, and international relationship management that Jewish companies provide while leveraging traditional commercial expertise to support modern international commerce.